Hi everyone, how are you? It is me, Fern. Welcome back to a new video. So for those of you that have watched my past videos would realize that my background has changed. So I am now no longer living in my skyrise apartment and I've now moved into a new house. And the exciting part is with this house, I bought it, whereas my old apartment, I was only renting. So now that I've moved house, I've used this opportunity to elevate my home, implement interior design choices, and do mini home renovations to elevate my living space. With this house, it is a blank canvas and I have incorporated a lot of things that I love to make sure that my space truly reflects me. In this video, I'll go through some interior design elements that I recommend to elevate your home. Now, I will just say that my house is currently a work in progress, so nothing is final. And I also don't claim to be an interior design expert or anything, but this is just things that I've learned from other interior design influencers and interior decor professionals, I guess, or stylists. And I've just taken elements of different pieces of advice that I've heard and I've incorporated it into my house. Let me know down in the comments below if there's anything that you've incorporated into your house to elevate the space. I'd be keen to hear about what everyone here does. I also want to start off by saying that home renovation improvements don't have to break the bank. So some of the things that I've incorporated into my house are minor renovations where I've incorporated parts of the process myself to save costs, or I've looked at ways to save money by shopping in a very smart way and finding the best deals for myself. So keep watching to hear about some of my interior design tips and tricks to elevate a home. The first interior design tip that I recommend is installing floor-to-ceiling curtains. So having floor-to-ceiling curtains gives off this illusion of a more heightened ceiling. So this is something that I've learnt myself and I've sort of applied it to my own home. Even if your windows are not floor-to-ceiling, by applying floor-to-ceiling curtains, it does give this illusion of an increased ceiling height. So what I mean by this is that the curtain itself, if it starts from the very top of your ceiling and goes all the way down to the bottom of the floor, it just creates this sense of grandeur and size. I feel like it makes the space feel like there's more scale to it, especially since the eyes are drawn to both the top and the bottom of the space. So that's something that I've incorporated into my house. It gives this illusion of space and airiness, and this is especially something that could come in handy if you're working with a smaller space or a smaller apartment. I find that this tip really works. I did do a similar thing with the very first property I bought for myself years ago. I've since sold that apartment, but I did the same thing then where I applied floor-to-ceiling curtains and it just created a bigger sense of space, especially for something that was a one-bedroom apartment. But now that I've moved into a house, applying floor-to-ceiling curtains across various different rooms just creates a bigger sense of space, especially when the house itself already has some depth or dimension to it. I feel like adding those curtains really just makes the space feel way more elevated. One of the big no-nos that I would stay away from is having the curtains start at the top of the window or end before it touches the floor. That to me gives off a feeling of it being unfinished, and you don't want that. You want to make sure that it starts at the very, very top of your ceiling and drapes all the way down until it almost touches the floor. That's how you get that sense of scale and grandeur. So if you're installing curtains, definitely make sure that it is floor to ceiling. The next tip that I have to elevate your home is to add some artwork. So I love to paint and I spend a lot of my free time doing a lot of painting. So for me, I have a lot of my own artworks scattered around my house. I also like to collect art as well. And for those of you that have already watched my channel before, know that I am a massive ocean liner nerd. So I have a strong fascination with ocean liners and ships. So some of the artwork pieces that I have in my house are historical artifacts. So I purchased a piece of ceiling coving from the RMS Olympic, which is the Titanic's sister ship. And I have that hanging up in my main hallway, and I feel like that is a focal point for a lot of guests that come over. They are always curious to know what it is, the story behind it. So for me, having artwork is really, really important to make your space feel dynamic and interesting and have elements where they create talking points for guests. Now, with artwork, you don't need to break the bank to get a unique piece of artwork. One thing I would sort of stray away from is generic prints, or I guess your mass-produced pieces of artwork that you might find in a local department store. Instead, I'd recommend putting your money into, let's say, original pieces by local artists, or things that you can find at a local market that is made by an actual artist in your area. Something like that doesn't have to be expensive, but it's still unique. It's still artwork created by a person, and then you're also supporting small creators. So for me, having artwork in the house is really important. I know for me, I'm also very passionate about artwork, so I have painted a lot of my own pieces. And I'm also very fortunate enough to be able to purchase artwork and historical artifacts that I really like and put around my house. But if there's something that you're into, whether it is artwork or memorabilia, whatever it may be that you enjoy, definitely consider investing time and money into it to decorate and elevate your home. The next tip I recommend to elevate your space is to include natural elements. So what I mean by this is, when I was shopping around for a house, I inspected a lot of properties that were hyper modern with a lot of bare concrete or that sort of faux marble aesthetic, or, you know, just materials that did not feel natural. I think for a house to feel elevated, I personally like natural elements and natural textures. So if it is a house that's quite bare, I still want elements of natural materials such as wood or exposed polished concrete, stone, brick. Those sorts of materials I feel like add warmth to the house. So with my home, I've tried to incorporate a lot of wood elements to give it a sense of warmth. Same with things like the curtains. I try and use more natural feeling materials like linen, for example. And that just makes the home feel more warm and cozy. And for me, I think that's something that's really important, because you want your home to feel like a place of comfort. I think if it veers a little bit towards that sort of display home, sort of like clinical feel, that's where I start not enjoying a space. But if there are natural elements to it, I think that's something that really elevates your house. Now, I know that some natural elements in furniture pieces can be quite pricey. So, you know, if you get like a solid wood piece of furniture, that can be pricey. Try and find furniture pieces that emulate a particular natural material, but also pick pieces where the imitation material doesn't come across too fake. You want it to look a little bit real. You want it to look a bit more authentic. That way it still elevates your space. So that's just my tip in terms of materials to make sure that your home feels cozy and warm and elevated. The last tip that I have to elevate a space is to include plants and greenery. So I say this knowing that I am not the biggest green thumb, so I have 2 real plants and everything else is artificial. And I know that I think that, you know, real plants add more warmth to a house, and I'm slowly getting there. But I think for me, having greenery in a house makes the space feel more inviting. So I do have a couple of artificial plants here, but I also have a real plant in another room as well. And I feel like having greenery just adds warmth to a space. Now, if you do go down the artificial route, so if you're not a green thumb or you don't consider yourself someone that wants to invest time into looking after plants, artificial plants are totally fine, granted that they look relatively real, and if they don't, are they in a spot where it's far enough away that it doesn't break the illusion? So I think when a plant comes across too fake, it can make the space feel, I guess, cold and clinical again. So I think, with my house, it is in that transitionary phase where, I've just moved in. So I've got some of the stuff from my old apartment here that I'm slowly changing them around for high quality pieces. So with some of my plants, I do intend on swapping them out with real plants eventually, but I highly recommend looking into some greenery for your home if that's something that you're considering to make the space feel more warm. So those are just some of the tips and tricks that I recommend to elevate your living space. Obviously, I am not an interior design expert or an architect or anything like that, but I have incorporated a lot of these things into my new home, and I've noticed a vast difference in the way that I love the space. So let me know down in the comments below if there are things that you do to your home to elevate the space. Pop it down in a comment and I'd be keen to read them. I always love reading comments from everyone below, so definitely pop something down there. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're new to this channel, definitely hit subscribe and check out my other content as well. I do a lot of videos on lifestyle, fashion, travel, daily vlogs, and so much more. So if you're into that, definitely hit subscribe, check out my other content. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and I hope to see you in a future one. Bye.